Hello. So, I've got the game set to display kind of most of what I see when I play Flight Simulator because I do have 3 monitors. And I do have the game of Flight Simulator set to have errors that occur. They're not going to be full-on failures and errors because these planes don't work right. Half the buttons don't work. You can't touch the breakers or anything like that. So it's not a complete playable game. So I was flying to San Francisco. I forget where I was coming in from. And as I came halfway over the Sierra Nevadas, I started losing power to my ADIRS, I believe, the air radar. And you can see what's happening right now where the flickering screens are coming and going. And as I prepared to make my right turn north on the leg that we're on now, I lost all the screens. The screens that are flickering now on the outside were stable. I'd only lost the radar ones. And that had started with the radar flickering like this is flickering now. And it was very weird. I couldn't really figure it out. I was kind of in between doing a bunch of work, or I was finishing a project after hours on work, and I was trying to fly the plane, and it was just an interesting thing. So as I was coming into land, I set up to finish. I'd done my work project, and I was focusing. And some odd things were happening. You saw a moment ago there, as I was coming over the bay, the textures, the clouds, everything kind of blipped into something different. So I was having some odd issues. Now, I originally thought this would be a game error, but as I mentioned earlier, or one of the failures that the game can do, it doesn't really do that quite right. I mean, the fire suppression system, none of that works in this plane. This is the stock A320n, so there's not a lot I can do. So up front, when you see what I have now was working and the inner radars and everything else was blinking, I had ATC. As I was about to turn north and I lost everything, ATC died as well. So I'm flying completely blind at the moment. I'm lucky now I got some visibility back with my, oh my gosh, I cannot think of the term right now. I'm just kind of recording this blind, but the orientation, blue up, brown down for ground and sky. And I've flown this approach before, so I knew roughly what to do. I did come down in altitude a little bit too much too soon, and part of that was in case I lost engine power, which has happened before, and I had to ditch somewhere. And the other part of that, and the reason I say that is because I'm near Oakland, and there's a couple other airports nearby, so I knew I could ditch and get there without too much issue. But then as I came over the bay, I kind of floated it to make sure I could get across the water and to give myself enough speed to flare across, as I was basically doing this flight 100% manual. Now, it's nice that the game offers the VFR map. Most pilots now carry an iPad with their own internal systems for tracking their progress and flight planning, so they could potentially do some things on that, but those iPads aren't going to fully have GPS. They're going to interface with something. They will have GPS, but it's not going to be as perfect. But anyway, the VFR map was basically helping me stay on the flight plan. I knew the approach I was coming in on, so I knew when roughly I would need to turn and where I would need to go. And I knew the runways I was coming in on. I can see them out in the distance until the fog kind of popped in. And then I kind of only could see one of the runways, so I started angling towards that one, and it was the wrong runway. But it was an easy fix and adjustment. You can see I'm getting some frame stuttering here, which is really unfortunate, and everything kind of started slowing down. I dropped my gear early, again, to make sure I was ready to go for any emergencies. I've lost all screens again now, no power as I'm coming over. Game's stuttering a little bit. These updates have killed my graphics, but this was a very interesting and unique flight, and it's funny because for all the time that I've flown with the ILS system, the approach systems, and all the time I've done this properly, it's when there's an issue that I actually seem to be able to fly better. I was trying for a little while to limp autopilot through because the autopilot, the numbers above the altitude and speed indicator that tells me all my heading and stuff, that was blinking in and out as well. So I had to guess my airspeed, my altitude, all that stuff until finally everything died and it was just like, okay, well, we're flying blind. Now, yes, the game does kind of tell me at the bottom right and bottom left some statistics. So I knew airspeed at the bottom left, and at the bottom right, I knew my altitude. So I could kind of carry it in on that way. But it gave me a bit of extra information to make the flight more functional. We're still coming in a bit fast. This was a very slow approach at this point because I was really trying to line things up and make a good landing. My airspeed wasn't really the problem. I was up a bit high on altitude and I had come down a little bit too early, which is why right now I'm kind of floating across instead of descending in for approach. I'm lined up with the runways now. I'm coming in pretty good. It's going to happen very quickly here as I get close. I am dealing with a crosswind. I knew I had a crosswind when I was headed in, and I believe the wind was coming from my right, I want to say. It might have been the opposite. We'll see which side I favor as I come in. I think the wind's coming from my right, which is why I'm a little bit off to the side. Yeah, so the wind's got to be from my right because I lined off a little bit, seeing how I was drifting. And I'm coming in pretty decently. Lots of corrections, little maneuvers, and a bit of frame stuttering. And then I swooped down a little bit to come in on approach, bleed off the extra airspeed that I'd gained, and kind of floated in a little lower at this point. Now we're in real time, no more sped up. You can see I'm lined up pretty well. I come down, I do hit a little bit hard, but not bad. Here we go. That's a pretty good landing, I think. I hit the right part. I floated the nose a little bit before it came down. Speed brakes, full flaps, everything worked pretty well. That was a pretty dang good landing for me, considering I'm using an Xbox controller. And this is where it starts getting interesting and where I realized there was no failure, there was no bug in the game, it was all me. And it's going to happen very quickly, so you probably will miss it unless you're very familiar with the A320 and the game indicator since I'm in proper pilot position. So I pulled over and parked, and I was going to start switching things over. So here we go. Let's turn off the lights, turn off all that extra power usage. Whoa, wait a second. Why is my cockpit back up? Okay, well, let's close flaps. Hang on a second. My AI ATC is talking. Okay, interesting. I'm on the ground. I'm ready to go. Everything seems to be working. So I wiggle the mouse around like, what the heck? So I start to request my taxi to gate, taxi to parking, and all that stuff. Look up, and it's hard to see, but it's right here on your screens. Very difficult to see, so I will explain it in a moment. I toggled my taxi light, and all of a sudden, my screen started going off again. This is what I was first faced with when I was on the approach that I was talking about a moment ago. What the heck? All right, let's taxi to parking and get this beast unloaded. So, what happened? Well, I mentioned I was doing a bit of a work project. It was after hours, so I wasn't shirking my work duties, but I was focusing on doing some of that, and during my power on process, I only turned on the generator for my left engine, engine 1. I did not turn on the generator for engine 2, which meant that the battery 2, I guess, wasn't being charged enough, and I eventually drained my power levels, which is very interesting because the generator on one side should be capable of powering the entire airplane. So a very odd little bug that it didn't work quite right. Yeah, it's my fault, but still the game should power the whole plane off of one generator, redundant systems. Anyway,